Welcome back. Well, the White House is asking for $5.5 trillion in new and higher taxes in President Biden's massive $7.3 trillion budget for 2025. Biden requesting just $4.7 billion in emergency funding for Homeland Security as illegal migrants surge our southern border. He wants more than $400 million for the Border Patrol and nearly $900 million to counter the deadly fentanyl problem. Joining me right now is Texas Congressman August Pfluger, a member of the House Homeland Security and Energy and Commerce Committees. Congressman, your reaction to the president's budget?
Well, Maria, thank you for having me on this morning. It's no surprise it worsens our economic situation. He raises taxes. They're going to increase the debt and deficit by $34 trillion over the next 10 years, or $18 trillion to get to $50 trillion total in our debt. But really, he does nothing to address the situation at the border. He's actually continuing his war on fossil fuels. And what we need is policy changes at the border. What we need is a commander-in-chief who actually goes to the border and understands that there are no consequences. And the fact that he says, in the event of a surge, we'll create a slush fund, an emergency fund, to help process more immigrants, actually signals to the rest of us who know what's going on that he doesn't have any intention of stopping this crisis.
Well, I mean, I think this is a really good point that you make, because when I hear money going to the border, I'm thinking, well, what is that money for? I know that we need policy changes at the border. I've heard from a number of Republicans how Remain in Mexico worked under the Trump administration. But if you give more border money, give more money to the border, doesn't that just mean you're hiring more people to continue processing more migrants?
Well, that's exactly right. It's a slush fund for Mayorkas to be able to send air marshals like he wants to the border to process, which we have legislation against. He wants to be able to process faster and more efficiently. When you talk to Border Patrol agents, they will tell you, yes, they need an overtime adjustment. They are working overtime. We have been working on that. We need to continue building the wall. We need technology to identify those that are coming across the border. But they don't need money nearly as bad as they need policy changes and the political will to stop this tragedy from happening, which is 3 years running now.
Yeah, walk us through some of these tax increases. I mean, he claims no one making $400,000 are going to see any taxes going up. But if you're raising taxes on small business, doesn't that also capture individuals? Because some of these tax increases, he wants to increase the corporate alternative minimum tax to 21% from 15%. He wants to quadruple the stock buyback tax to 4% from 1%. Raise the corporate income tax to 28% from 21%. There's a 25% billionaires tax. And then there's the longer depreciation of and higher fuel taxes on private jets. Your thoughts on the tax increases that he says are for the wealthiest earners and business?
Well, it's obvious when you compare and contrast that with the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which Kevin Brady championed in the House of Representatives, which increased revenue and lowered taxes for every single American, that their approach is completely opposite. They want to tax these corporations. They want to continue to increase taxes, which will affect every single American. It will affect their paychecks, but will also affect what we as consumers are purchasing, what the economy is running on. And so it's a completely different approach. But the fact is, they're going to raise $75-80 trillion in taxes over the next 10 years, as opposed to Republican plans where we're going to spend less and we are going to continue to bring your taxes down, acknowledging that that's the way that you increase revenues, that you unleash American energy, that you unleash small businesses, that you don't heft these taxes on the corporations which are employing thousands of people. So it's a completely different approach. But I think the one thing we can agree on, Maria, is they're acknowledging that there is a problem with the economy and the fundamentals of our economy with this budget.
Well, a completely different approach in terms of how to allocate money. So, you know, the Biden team wants to spend money on the climate change agenda. Kill fossil fuels. The Republicans want to tap into the U.S. energy capacity and secure the border. A new Gallup poll reveals 55% of Americans see illegal immigration as a critical threat to the United States. The president told reporters yesterday that he's counting on the border crisis to solve itself. Watch this. I got to get your reaction to this exchange.
Mr. President, when is an border executive action coming? An executive action on the border.
Counting on the border action happened by itself. The passing it.
Happens by itself, Congressman.
This again falls in the category of you can't make this up. Here's our chief executive, the commander-in-chief, with a nonsensical reply. Come on, Mr. President, we need your help, your leadership. Every community is suffering. It's not going to solve itself. We need you to say that you are going to take immediate action. But unfortunately, for 3 years running, you have created a situation where we have 9 million illegal immigrants, hundreds of people matching the terror watch list. We in Congress have passed the strongest legislation, which was H.R. 2, and you've taken zero action on that. It is time to step up because it's hurting every community.
Well, I want to talk about your bill because you are introducing a bill to block non-citizens from serving as administrators in our nation's elections. I mean, this seems practical to me. Of course, you want citizens to be doing this kind of work, but just last month, San Francisco appointed a Chinese national, Kelly Wang, to serve on its Federal Election Commission. They actually did the ceremony in Chinese. This is incredible. What is going on in San Francisco, and why are non-citizens going to be in charge of our elections?
Look, I applaud anybody who wants to become a citizen. That should be the highest standard to become a citizen. But our voting system depends on citizenship. It depends on reaching that point where you say, I love this country. You take the Pledge of Allegiance seriously. It is unbelievable to think that places like San Francisco are putting non-citizens in charge of the voting system, which doesn't just affect San Francisco, it affects federal elections as well. This is a growing trend across the country, places like New York City, even in Washington, D.C., where I have legislation as well to prevent non-citizens from voting. We need to make sure that our voting system is elevated to the level of citizenship, and anyone that is running it, participating in it, oversight over that system, including registering new voters, is a citizen. In this case, if you read the interview, this lady in California said that she wanted to represent the interest of all non-citizens because they have a stake in our voting system. Listen, we have got to make sure that we keep our voting system and the integrity of it completely pure when it comes to citizenship as the definite ultimate gold standard.
Yeah, but Congressman, come on. Is this really going to pass? I mean, you and your colleagues could not even get Senator Haggerty's amendment passed, and he was just barring illegal aliens from being counted in allotting congressional seats and the Electoral College votes. This happened this week. It failed in the Senate. Listen to what Senator Haggerty told me on this program right here yesterday. Watch.
They want these illegal migrants in here to create more electoral power for them in their blue states. They're basically creating sanctuary cities to be a magnet so these people will disproportionately flow to these blue states. They're shipping them there as rapidly as they can. Since Joe Biden came into office, the estimates are as high as 10 million people that have come in here. That would be 13 extra congressional districts if you allocated them the right way. This is a tremendous amount of power that the Democrats are bringing in.
So is that what this is about, Congressman, getting illegals to vote? Is that why we have an open border, so the Democrats have more voters on their side? And if so, what are you going to do about it?
Well, I think this bill is one step in the right direction. I mean, you're right. Is President Biden going to sign this into law when he literally has opened our borders to millions of people? Probably not, but that still doesn't mean that we don't take action. We are going to take action. I hope that the Senate will look at this and take action. But the fact is, Maria, we do have a big problem. The deconstruction of the rule of law at the border has been a problem. It's going to be their legacy, and it's going to be the top issue on the ballot in November with Republicans having real solutions.
All right, we'll be watching all of that. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to catch up with you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Maria.